Okay, so here we are with our third interview. Third, not well. It depends, obviously, on how I place this on YouTube or whatever it is, but it is definitely. Obviously, I've spoken to Zinkle, I've spoken to Mamokete, and now our third rising star for 2021. Very proud of all three of you, ladies. I always say girls, but because only because you're so much younger than me, or I'm just so old. So anyway,
I'm
so
happy for you.
Terry is here as well, Terry Morulane, and it's been such a pleasure. I'm really not trying to miss SAU here, but it's been such a great pleasure just having you and getting to know you, and we're friends. You understand what I'm saying to you? That's it's been a year, and I emphasize that on all like the chats that I've had with the girls. Because a year is a long time. Things happen. Things did happen. Lots
Yeah.
of things happen.
hmm
Yeah, ups and downs. And so once again, I emphasize I love the life that this mentorship had. It had a lifespan. It has a lifespan. We continue after this to have the relationship of mentor and mentee as you grow. And that is a little bit of
Yeah.
the introduction of what Chris Jordan Media has decided to do in a time, where, and I'm not blowing my own horn. Yeah, I'm really just explaining myself. I'm saying,
Being honest.
yeah, yeah, I can be. If I have nothing more, I do not have tact. If that makes any sense. So,
Yes.
yeah, it's very very tiring to be anything but honest. Anyway, but anyway, as I was saying, so you can't, a lot of companies, a lot of businesses, because obviously I provide a service, like, not, you couldn't go into radio stations. You really, there was a lot of fear coming out of 2020. And so again, I think like some individuals out there, it was a great time to do something experimental, start up some new projects, things that you can control. So people also watching this, whatever it may be, like that was the narrative again around a situation where you can sit there and say, well, what do I do? What do I do now? I mean, obviously, thank God, I've got income coming from other places, whatever it is. But this was really special for me, and I'm really glad that things just came together. Like, it was within 2 weeks. Decided, like, on the 15th of Jan, I was like, no, you know what I'm gonna do? We're gonna start this. Got the mentors, got the mentees, and then we started with it. How has, just shortly? I mean, how's the year been for you?
The year has been pretty interesting. There have been so many ups and downs, but just really reflecting and looking back, I've had a pretty decent year overall. There has been a lot of growth, particularly with this mentorship. Um, I have grown in ways I thought I wouldn't really grow. I
Explain.
think as a creative,
Yeah,
I
go on.
was quite anxious and quite alone. And this mentorship has created this community for me, Chris. I'm very, very grateful that you've done this wonderful mentorship because you have brought these wonderful industry giants together, and you brought me, Mamukete, and Zintle together, and we were able to learn from you guys. And, I think that's an experience that was very, very priceless. You can't really put a price, you probably can.
I
But
will.
for me, it was so priceless. And
Yeah.
I didn't really realize what I was getting myself into. All I knew is that I wanted more for myself. I wanted to learn. I wanted to grow. I didn't really understand how because we're living in times right now where you have social media at your disposal. You have the internet. You have all these resources. So it's a thing of there's no excuse. If you want something, go get it. The internet is there. But it's great that you've created this community because that was the missing link in my life personally. Is that I needed to be surrounded by this, very knowledgeable network of people who are mentoring me and who are guiding me and who are like, look, listen, you don't have to be perfect right now. This is a journey. This is going to take time. We have the entire year. And I mean, within 3 months, there was already that growth. I started getting, for example, like the social media confidence. I was no longer just generally engaging, but I was trying to now build a brand. I now had a vision of where I was trying to go. It wasn't just general posting. So that was kind of the first step. And it just got better and better and better.
Mm. Well,
Um,
and that's
yeah.
what I want to say is just a comment on perfection. It's something that
Hmm.
as a kid, and when I say as a kid, I mean that led up to my mid 30s, which was a couple of
Hmm.
years ago. And I always strived for perfection, but how
Hmm.
how you do that is you only make choices that you will completely, you understand, you will
Mm.
murder the competition. You understand?
Yeah, like that are safe, a bit too safe at
There you
times.
go. See, and I didn't realize that. I just thought, well, you know what? I am untouchable because I kind of was in
Mm.
that context. And then I started
Mm.
to fail miserably. But
Yes.
it was,
And failing is so necessary.
man, and I was like on a winning streak of losing. And it was genuinely because I had this misguided a view and my own perception, which is reality of what perfection is, and it doesn't
Mm.
exist. You understand that the moment you believe in perfection, you stop believing in growth, which I think everyone kind of knows. But
Mm.
we all do second nature. We want to be better in the journey to
That's
perfection. But then it also,
exactly.
yeah, you don't feed your soul because there's always something missing. Oh no, but I'm still want more. I want to move more. I'm on a journey to perfection. That means there's always something
Mm.
missing.
Mm.
If you don't understand that the growth continuously, that's the whole point of growth, is that it
Yeah.
stops. Anyway, that's
Like
me.
the cup doesn't get full of growth. I think that's also one thing that it was quite significant for me is that, growth is not like a hierarchy where you like reach the top.
Yeah.
It's like a continuum. It has its ups and downs, and whether at the high point or the low point, it's still very important to continue with the growth.
Yeah.
So I feel you on that one.
What do you do? What have you done? What have you learned when you get knocked down? So that's just in terms of growth. We all hopefully are blessed with a year that passes, and we do have growth. Well,
Mm.
congratulations there. Um, how did
Mhm.
yeah? How did you accomplish that or conquer that?
Um, I think for me, when I get knocked down, or when I'm feeling low, or when an unfortunate event happens that affects my personal and creative life, is that I've learned this year that I need to actually just stop and allow myself to feel and allow myself to process the down that I'm facing in that current moment.
Yeah.
And in the past, I was this, go get a girl, like let's keep moving and let's just keep going. And it's like that's not always the healthiest thing. Well, for me personally, it wasn't the healthiest thing. I had to actually learn to stop and just kind of face the down that I'm going through in the moment, and
And get through it
to
quicker.
just allow myself to really deal with it and be kind to myself. I think that's the thing about perfectionism, is that you can really be hard on yourself, and you don't really process things that are in the best way for your mental health. So I
Sign
think
of respect.
that's,
It's sign of
yeah.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
not that you hate yourself because you strive for perfection. It's just that
Yeah.
take the moment, I, in the way that I give
Mm.
time, and I give it
Yes. Yes.
resources, and that's very cool. That is something that
Yeah.
will help you in every aspect of your life, because that's literally, again, my favorite word is narrative, like hashtag favorite word for 2021.
I think that's mine too.
Yeah, that's I'm just stuck on that one. It's like I use it 3, 4, 5, 50 times a day. Tell me, okay, uh, let's say your growth in the mentorship. So
Mhm.
just give me one or two examples of how you might have grown, or you have grown.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. In the mentorship. So, I think a significant way I've grown is how to kind of hone myself creatively. So, a big aspect of, radio is obviously your intellectual capacity, which is something that I've developed, but also like my voice, it's not good enough to just speak. And that there's just so many elements that and skill that you have to actually use in your voice.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I've learned. I've also learned that you need to be consistent, and that consistency is something that's going to make you win in a way. Okay, well, for me this year, I had to learn to, be consistent on social media. I had to learn to, understand where am I going? What's my vision?
Yeah.
So I had to write things down and, really have a plan of what I'm doing. So I'm very grateful for learning that. I had to be disciplined. I had to have a plan. I had to also just kind of upskill my voice.
Yeah.
And, one of the mentors, Michelle, who's like a voice coach, really helped me with that. She helped me. She once said that, yeah, Theri, you have a great voice, but, maybe it's a bit nasally. Let's work on this. And I didn't even know that. I thought, let's just speak. It's, as long as my throat and my vocal cords are working, that's good enough. And it's like, no, in an industry where you are speaking, there's so many layers that you need to go through to try and be the best version of yourself. So that was one. I think content creation is another thing. Chris, you really emphasize this, that you need to be independent. Don't expect to be employed. You need to, with social media at your disposal, you can start a YouTube channel, you can be a podcaster, you can be an artist, you can be all sorts of things. So you need to develop yourself independently. And, all these skills that I was learning throughout the year, in the last quarter of the year, I felt that actually, like, my passion is podcasting.
Yeah.
And that's when I actually discovered that actually I need to start a podcast. So as you know, Chris, I now have a podcast, Talks with Theri, which is now at the pinnacle. But there's so many groundwork that I've done throughout the year that has led to that point. And I'm very happy about that.
Also, again, I mean, it just, I'm happy for you, obviously. I mean, I'm not going to,
Thank
I
you.
don't have to emphasize that ever. But
Thanks.
that's the great thing. It's, people will always say, and managers that you will have an interview with, as you know, I mean, you work professionally in corporate, but,
Mhm.
in terms of, let's say, getting to a radio station, and they will always, I mean, they will ask directly a number of questions, and the easiest way is always to use anecdotes. Do you understand what I'm saying? To be
Mhm.
able to
Yes.
say, as just a, by the way, a tip, if so you're watching this or whatever it is, and in terms of you, that's the whole thing. So
Yes.
when you're doing that, and I ask, there's a Theri before, and there's a Theri
Mhm.
after, but I want you to explain to someone watching, tangibly, what
Yes.
how can we touch, feel, hear a sense, a Theri that is now? Because to stand out, everyone
Yes.
says it, but it's because it's true. There's no way a Demi Moore or a, what I'm saying, to a Drake. These
Yeah.
people do not. And I use Demi Moore. She's so old school. Anyway, she's just the first thing that came to my mind. But anyway, but these people did not. They were in a line of people, a proverbial,
Uh-huh.
and they weren't picked out by a lucky packet win. You know, tell me the before, a brief before, and then really this reason why Theri is needed to be part of any brand.
I think Terry before. Terry before was quite confident, but she was also very anxious. And there was also a bit of a fixation on perfectionism, as I had mentioned before. But I think the Terry now is not afraid of failure. And I think that I was able to find myself, or I was able to shine or see my light because of my authenticity. There's no other person that's exactly like me. And I think in the past, to find myself, I had tried to, somewhat emulate other people. And, I think it's a natural thing
We
as
all
human
do.
beings,
Yeah,
social beings.
yeah.
So we feel inspired by other people, naturally you're like, oh, I like this, this is cool, or I like how this sound. And we, somewhat feel inspired. And, sometimes the inspiration can like morph into now emulating, and
Yeah.
that you could potentially lose your authenticity. So I think that my X factor, or something that I think I have that thing, is my authenticity. I think that Terry is someone who's authentic.
But I think I
And,
know.
when you pair authenticity with just believing in yourself and not being afraid of failure and being consistent, then, magic just suddenly happens.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Again, that's always it's always a trick. It always is a trick question, and you can't when you answer it, you must say, "I can't answer that with words." You know,
Mm,
because that's exactly what the X factor is. Just before we went online, I used Naomi Campbell as an example. I always use her
yes.
with all my teachings because it's a supermodel. No speaking, no acting, no what. You are
Hmm.
just quote unquote walking, but
Literally, you're
I mean,
just being and
so
you're
you
an X
Naomi
factor.
Campbell, you know what I'm saying? So and trying to embody an X factor is literally you embodying it, in your
Mm,
holistic nature of being here, and then again you've got to show it. That's it. You can claim it, but you got to show it. You got to get on
show
that
it,
table.
yes.
You got to make your strut, and you got to stand out amongst the hundreds of
Mm,
supermodels behind you. You understand?
mm,
I want to so I want to kind of close up with what do you so being goal oriented is very important. Again, nothing new, but it's always fresh and new when we get a new lease on life. Does that make sense? And that can I always say
yes,
whatever happens a lifetime ago was the last point of reference where you made a change. You understand?
yes.
I actually watched this series now where there's too much again of this. I have to use narrative. It really does fix you from the world saying you must be someone different to be better. It's not that I don't like that. You know what I'm saying to you because that kind of starts you off as well. I'm not good enough. And I like the aspect, the concept of a lifetime ago. I was this person. I knew as much as I could. I did the best for me as I could with that knowledge, with those resources, and so on and so forth. A lifetime ago is the last Terry that you have a point of reference to. There's a new Terry
Yes.
here with new short and long term goals for the industry. So
Mm,
so everyone knows. I mean, I care about TV. You worked on a little web series with me this year. It's going to come on next
yes.
comic book year.
Exciting times.
Yes, it's yeah, but I mean, I can so digital. Obviously we got our journalism, whatever it may be. But like, I'm radio all the way. Team radio. I want to
Mm,
know, and they want to know. Here's my industry. Here's Terry. Come
mm,
in.
mm,
It's very easy to judge other people. So we look at, let's say,
mm.
lineups on different stations, say, are they crap? Are they crap? Are they mediocre? Are they not doing their job? Which is most of the time true. But if you want their job, you got to take it. So
Mm.
how will you change what do you want to give the industry?
Um, I want to give the industry something different.
That's
As
that's
cliche
all.
as it may
What do you
sound,
want? Yeah.
It sounds very cliche, but I want to give the industry something, different and something a little bit more inclusive. And, from a creative perspective, I very much respect the radio industry. But with regards to radio, there's like a commonality, where radio, there needs to be something shocking, something different.
The
And I
word,
think that the radio industry right now is very comfortable. I'm trying to really find the words to try to explain,
yeah,
but I have often, I think even my radio journey, let me just take it back a little bit, started in varsity. And, I think when you're in university, you're learning so much and there's a bit more freedom. And I think, I would often listen to radio and feel like, you know, I'm listening to the different stations. There's so much similar conversations, so much similar content. The music is, what's the word when something is recycled and it's, I don't know, I just want something new, fresh in
yeah.
terms of content, in the way we engage with radio. I think that there's so much of a community out there and a market to be tapped into of,
Yeah,
yes.
give me an example because it's easy to say it. People, let's say even so radio professionals will even look at you, the practitioners, and saying it's easy, it's good and all. We all know that, quote unquote. But give me an example of then what is different because that's what there are a lot of. So when you go in, and this is obviously helpful for people watching because that's what this whole thing. You go into some stations, and the station managers and the management are very defensive. You understand? So if
Yeah.
you go in and say, "Oh well, you should do something different," they go, "Well, we're working day and night, and you're coming here to criticize our brand," which is very childish. I mean, it's
Mm.
but unfortunately that is part of the reality that is in the South African
Yeah.
radio landscape. Anyway, so the thing is that you got to come through and say just like how would you
Okay, let's start from a programming perspective. I
yeah
think that when I listen to different stations from a programming perspective, things sound very much the same. There's that obviously the music structure, and then there's the slots in between with the shows, and then there's also like an interview. It's it's they're all very similar. So I think from a programming perspective, we could potentially, as a radio station, I mean, if I could like start a radio station tomorrow, I would want to implement a more of like a podcast type of programming structure. I mean, good music is important. Music is essential in radio.
it's the number one thing.
And, just, sorry?
It's the number one reason people still listen to
Yes,
radio.
that's very, very important.
Yeah.
But in terms of just how the content is shared, I think that I'd want to hear a lot more entertaining, more intellectual conversations. It's something that I've been missing from radio. It's like I enjoy radio. I listen to it. Oh, this is great. The music is banging. I love the show host, but I want conversations that are a bit more, intellectual, a bit more riveting. We can relate it to current affairs.
Yeah.
It could be something that's happening right now, but I would want an a better in-depth conversation of these types of topics.
I think
And
I think I know what you're trying to say, and you are
yes.
saying it, but it is it. In other words, we're what we're consuming with the majority of
Mhm.
stations, and it is true with the presenters, and their job is to obviously work on what it is they want to bring as content that is relevant to their audience as well.
Mhm.
Is and I feel strongly about this content that is one dimensional. So we
Mhm.
can speak about something that is got current affairs, but the thing is that
Yeah.
I've said it to you three throughout the years. I believe
Mm.
in three-dimensional content, and I know there are stations that do that, but it shouldn't be such a mission. It's not a next level thing. Like, you don't have to
Mm.
be in radio for a certain time and be to understand three-dimensional content, which is what
Yes,
you're
absolutely.
explaining there, and that should be a benchmark. Not It should be a mandatory benchmark.
Mm.
That you do take, even if it is something fun and light, celebrity driven, or whatever it is.
Mm.
Still want to put it on air, want to waste that airtime with quality stuff. We put three
Mm.
dimensions on it, incorporate the social media, incorporate by not obviously being repetitive, like you say, little
Yes.
sections of podcasts that are original here, there, like as much as we can, step out of anything that is mandatory. You know what I'm saying to you?
Mm.
So it's almost like, we have to close. So I don't want it to be too long, but it's almost like a station manager saying, "I need to thank you for back announcing a song and throwing forward to promotion." Like,
And a
no,
little jingle
part
here
of
and
your,
there.
part of your job. It's part of your job to
Exactly.
well.
That's like a
Yeah.
prerequisite.
Like, you understand what I'm saying to you? It's just
Yeah.
what I see a lot of, just because I just did what is expected, I must get some kind of pat on the back. No,
Yeah.
there's things that you have to do, like,
Yeah, so perhaps the standard needs to be raised. And I think that multidimensionality potentially needs to be like a prerequisite. It
yes,
has to be something that is given. It mustn't be something that is hard to find and is rare and is an X factor in some hosts, or in some programs, but it has to be part of it. um
and you
and I
have to
think
be part of
that's
it.
so.
I said, and you have to be part of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that, once we move in this direction, radio can, potentially improve, as I do feel that even though that we've come such a long way in the industry, it's just these things that make it a little bit stagnant. And, you know,
We need
um,
growth.
we need
Growth.
to move, we need to evolve.
Yeah.
And there needs to be some growth.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I really thank you for the year, and thank you for this.
Thank you,
And
Chris.
yeah, I just I didn't know how to kind of end the other ones either. Just again, I'm just think of the audience right now. So yeah, you've just been wonderful. You are wonderful, and I'm not going to see you on the other side. I'm going to just be with you till the other side.
Yes.
And again, for all information, people can just go look at. I did like a brief kind of like run through on chrisjordanmedia.net. You can just go check out the mentorship and just keep up to date as to when the next one will be auditioning. We'll be auditioning for that, and then obviously starting
Exciting.
2022. Okay, you be.
Thank you so much, Chris. You have been amazing. Thank you so much that you have started this initiative. You mentioned that, radio, you were asking me what we could potentially need. And another thing that we needed in this industry is like mentorship.
Yeah.
You are experienced, you've gathered some people who have great expertise. And then there are people out there like me who needed just that. So thank you so much, Chris. This is, greater than you may understand it to be. And this is only just the beginning. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, much love. Much love.
Much love.